Hi everyone, it's Natalie, and tonight's drawing will be this toucan that I drew ahead of time. I thought that this would be a fun animal to draw because I don't think I've drawn too many birds. I believe I drew an owl a couple months ago, but I personally really like the toucan, but not Toucan Sam because Fruit Loops are not a wholesome breakfast, so we'll stick to tropical toucans. Also, some announcements. In the video's description, you can find links to coloring pages and my brand new Etsy store. It's the first link listed, so if you guys are interested in buying some of my works, you can check out my Etsy store. I currently have 3 pieces listed on there. One is the girl with red curly hair from a couple months ago. The other is a chimpanzee. Oh, and the sugar skull is also on there. So you guys can look at those and buy them if you'd like. I'd really appreciate it if you did, because all the money goes towards something. I'm currently saving up for a spring break school trip to France and Italy, so any art purchases I greatly appreciate. So let's get started with this. As always, I use Prismacolor colored pencils on Strathmore toned gray paper. Okay, this bird's eye is very simple, so I'm just finishing up the color and then I'll add the highlights. I always paint the highlights on with white acrylic paint. This acrylic paint, it's really cheap. It's about $1 on average at craft stores. There's tons of different brands, but the one that I purchase most of the time is the Americana white acrylic paint from Hobby Lobby. I always find this to be a good deal, and the brand has a lot of nice colors, so this is what I use to paint everything, really. Even my acrylic paintings that you see on my Instagram account, just because it's always been inexpensive and convenient. But since it's so cheap, it's great to use with Prismacolor colored pencils as well. One thing I recommend you do if you haven't already is experiment with mixed medium and make drawings with markers and colored pencil, or colored pencils and paint. By doing this, you're able to capture so much more detail than you would if you're using one medium, because they're all good for different things. For example, using Copic markers or other ink markers is great for filling in large areas and blending, but if you want to detail things like hair or whiskers on an animal, it's really difficult to do that, so colored pencils will help you. And with both mediums, since you can't, like once you go in color or dark color, you can't revert back to white, the white acrylic paint helps you fix that. So I use it on all my drawings for highlights on the eye. This really helps enhance the piece, and it causes whatever you're drawing to come to life. Amanda, I do not have a coloring book, but I do have coloring pages posted online through Kids Activities blog. In fact, I link some in the video's description, so you can go check that out when the video's ended or anytime you'd like. So there's the highlights, and I'll begin coloring around the eye. Debbie. My Halloween was pretty fun. I didn't go trick-or-treating or anything, but I did volunteer at my school's trick-or-treat on the track event, which is basically a safe environment for young children to go trick-or-treating. All the different clubs and organizations at my school set up little booths, and we passed out candy to children. So that was pretty fun, and the kids are kind of entertaining. We had a ring toss game at the French Honor Society booth, and I think the highlight of the night was a kid. He took all the glow stick rings that were supposed to be the rings for the ring toss, and he ran over to the track and threw them out to the middle. I found that to be pretty funny, but other than that, there wasn't much. So the pencil sharpener that I'm going to be using temporarily tonight is a broken penguin sharpener because I lost my nice colored pencil sharpener. It's somewhere in my room and my awesome little sister is looking for it right now. So it may take a bit longer to sharpen my pencils, but hopefully she can find it soon. I always keep it in my little pencil box, but it wasn't there today, and that worries me. And for those of you who came into the video late, I'm using Prismacolor colored pencils on Strathmore Tone Gray paper, and there are coloring pages linked in the description. And also, this is new to this video, but I officially opened up my Etsy store. I link that in the video's description, or you can search for it on Etsy yourself. It's Cygann, spelled C-Y-G-A-N-N. And there I have 3 pieces listed so far, so you can purchase those if you'd like, and I'll be adding more soon. So stay tuned there. I know that a lot of you guys have requested purchasing them, and it can be a little difficult to arrange sales through Instagram Direct and email, so I think Etsy makes the whole transaction much easier. So go check that out. Good news, guys. My little sister found my pencil sharpener, so give a shout out to her. Ruth, these are Prismacolor colored pencils. Diana, I create these videos weekly on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. However, there are some schedule changes dependent on what I have going on at school, so sometimes it changes, but I'll make an announcement on my Instagram story if I'm unable to do a video, or I'll tell you ahead of time. So go follow me on Instagram so you can get those updates. Kelsey, I think that the tone gray paper makes the colors pop more because you have this nice subtle grayish background. So I highly recommend trying this paper because you may find that it's more fun to work with than typical white paper. So if you want to get something like this particular sketch pad that I use is the Strathmore tone gray paper. Sorry guys, I have it on its side right now, but that's what the front cover looks like. It's a green, and you can find it at craft stores such as Hobby Lobby and Michael's. And speaking of Michael's, it's now November, so I can look forward to the Michael's Black Friday sales. I highly recommend that all of you guys go to Michael's on Black Friday, first of all, because there's like no one that goes there. You'll walk in and it's deserted. And then they also have amazing deals on things like paint, paintbrushes, canvas. I haven't noticed any Prismacolor deals, but if you're looking for general art supplies, you can get some great deals there. A couple years ago, I went there and they had this $200 drawing desk on sale for $69, and I bought that, and it's a wonderful desk. It's super sturdy and it has an adjustable slope, so you can draw at an angle if you'd like. So you never know what you'll find there, so that's why I recommend going. Mary, you can find these colored pencils at craft stores such as Hobby Lobby and Michael's, but you can also get them on Amazon. And I believe, oh yeah, Walmart has them as well. I always keep forgetting to say that, but Walmart's very limited in what they carry. Usually they only carry the 12 or 24 pack. You won't find much more than that. Whereas craft stores, you can buy huge sets, small sets, or you can buy the colors individually, which is super helpful if you use particular colors a lot, like I do. For instance, I use black, white, and browns a lot. I still need to replenish my Tuscan red, so I'll get that hopefully this weekend. If you guys watched my sugar school video, you saw the death of a colored pencil. It's pretty sad because it gets so short, you can't sharpen it anymore, and there's still some color in it. Muniza, I think that the comment section actually has a better answer to that question than I do. Personally, I don't know the prices of the colored pencil sets. I see different prices everywhere at the craft stores and on Amazon, but after reading a lot of the comments, I realized that Amazon has some pretty great deals, and you can get things like the 72 set for I think $30 or $40. That's what some of you guys are saying, and that's an amazing deal, so I would definitely check Amazon. I can't give an exact price at the craft stores because I never purchased a set of Prismacolors actually. The set that I'm using, it's the 48 count set, and I got this as a Christmas present. It was owned by someone else originally, and they didn't use them anymore. It was a friend at school, and they said, hey, Merry Christmas, and I thought that this was an amazing Christmas present. So whenever I need new pencils, I just buy the individual ones and slowly replenish it instead of purchasing a whole new set. Yes, and as someone in the comments just brought up, always check Hobby Lobby and Michael's websites for 40% off coupons. They typically have these, well, not typically, in fact, I've never seen them without the coupon on their website. So you can get a guaranteed 40% off on any item in their store. It has to be full price and you can't combine it with other deals or coupons. But this is an amazing coupon at craft stores, and if you're not using it, then you're definitely missing out, because 40% off is a lot. And sometimes I even use it on the individual pencils, even though they're just a couple bucks each. I mean, if you save a handful of change here and there, you can save it up and buy some more pencils. So that's a go-to every time I go to the store. You can actually get the apps on your phone for both of these stores and have immediate access to it. So that makes it super easy. Michelle, my Instagram is linked in the video's description. And again, since this is new and a lot of you guys are just now entering the video, in the video's description I linked my brand new Etsy store where you can purchase some of my drawings. I know that a lot of you have asked to buy my drawings, and communicating over email or Instagram direct isn't necessarily the most effective method of buying art. So I made an Etsy account, therefore the transactions will be super simple. So that's linked in the video's description. You can go check that out right now or after the video. Hope I have not tried those colored pencils. In fact, I've never heard of them. Sarah, I'm using black and 30% cool gray. Rachel, I don't use water or oil with the Prismacolors, however one time, well, regularly that is. There's one time where I experimented with colored pencils by using coconut oil over them, and I found it to be really cool because the coconut oil blended together the pigments and it made it really shiny, so the color was much bolder. I'd like to demo it for you guys sometime, but I'd have to think it through first because it is kind of messy, and like I said, I'll have to make a video specifically for that. I'd like to make videos where I experiment with different mediums. I currently am planning to make a watercolor video for you guys. I haven't done watercolor in a long time, but I have this special paintbrush that I like to use. If you've seen them before, I don't know what they're called, but they're basically a paintbrush, and instead of a traditional handle, it's a plastic bottle-like tube, and the brush screws onto the end, and as you squeeze the bottle, some water comes out. And I really like using these because it's super controlled and you don't have to worry about using too much water. I mean, if you squeeze it too hard, you'll get too much water on your piece, but other than that, they're super cool to work with, and I'd love to show it to you guys because it's also great for kids. I know that watercolor can be kind of messy, and the biggest problem is that you're using a piece of paper and you just put too much water on it and the paper starts to feather and tear and just get super soggy, but these pencils help avoid that. Not pencils, these paintbrushes. But before I make that video, I'd like to get to the art store and buy a few supplies because all my watercolor paint sets are toast. Chris, I've actually never used an adult coloring book before, but I do make coloring pages, and those are available on Kids Activities blog, which I linked in the video's description if you'd like to go get those. I've made coloring pages, but I myself have not used them. Heather, as of right now, I will make videos tomorrow and Thursday because I don't actually have the interview time figured out, but once I do, I'll definitely make an announcement for you guys so you know not to like stay tuned for a video on a day that there won't be one. So I'll keep you guys updated. But like I said, as of right now, I'll be coloring on Wednesday and Thursday this week. Austin, I use something called a shot box to record my videos, so no one has to hold the phone. I feel like that'd be a painful process for someone to do for an entire hour, so I use something called a shot box. If you hear my pencil ever hit against the wall, that's the wall of the shot box. So I use this for all my videos, and it's super awesome because it's portable, you fold it up, and there's lights built into it, so you plug it into a power source and you turn it on. And the lighting is actually adjustable, but whenever I turn it to the lower lighting, as you can see right now, there's these weird lines that go back and forth on the screen. So I always keep it at max brightness. But it's super cool because on the top of the shot box, there's a plastic panel, but on the panel are holes, so you can place your phone flat on it and stick the camera outside of one of the holes, and it will capture everything that's going on below. It's great for photography and video recordings like this. Okay, I'm going to move on to the beak now, and I'm super excited about this because this is the most colorful part of a toucan, and it's going to look very pretty. Shelia, I said shot box, S-H-O-T, not shock. And you can buy this product on Amazon if you guys want to record videos like this. And as I stated earlier, it's great for photography as well. In fact, the Etsy store that I just made and linked in the video's description, I use this box to take pictures of all my drawings. calligraphy, I taught myself how to use Prismacolor pencils. They're lots of practice, and same with drawing, lots of practice and repetition with coloring. But I am enrolled in art classes at my school, but they're not necessarily based in instruction. It's more of a block that I have to work on my own pieces and use resources if needed. Judy, my computer science class is going really well. Since it's an IB diploma class, we're about to get started on our internal assessments, which for computer science means a program that we create ourselves and we have to write a report on it. So I'm excited to start on that. I'm not sure exactly what I'm going to create, but I have a couple of ideas down. Chris, you might see Christmas videos even in late November because I think that with stores and businesses, the Christmas season has already started. I went to Walmart a couple days ago and they already have their full Christmas tree display and all the ornaments out. So Christmas starts as soon as possible. I know craft stores like Michael's and Hobby Lobby, they've been at Christmas since August. If you go into Hobby Lobby in August, you will find Christmas trees. It's pretty crazy, but they're always ready for it. And I think that throughout the year leading up to Christmas, they always have huge Christmas sales. I think in September or something, they had a weekend sale for Christmas items. It's a crazy thing, but it's there. So if you guys are into buying Christmas decorations, definitely check out Hobby Lobby if you haven't already. Judy, when I was much younger, such as whenever I was in middle school, I considered looking into digital art, but I never had the means of doing so, so I never did it. And I'm kind of glad because I really do like traditional art. But my little sister, she does work with digital art and it's pretty cool. Cheryl, this is canary yellow. Fortunately, Prismacolors don't smudge that much, especially with the light. Excuse me, especially with the lighter colors. However, whenever you're coloring with black or dark brown, things like that, you have to be a little bit more careful whenever you brush it away because those tend to mark up your paper. Whereas this, if you lightly brush, it shouldn't be a problem. But I do advise that you be careful for that. Sometimes I usually blow away the extra pencil marks and eraser marks and things like that. But if I did this on the recording, your guys' ears would be very uncomfortable because you know how it is whenever someone blows into a microphone. I just don't want that sound to disturb you. So that's why I brush it with my hand. You can also use a paintbrush. That's super helpful, but not one of the fine paintbrushes, more of one of the thick and bristly paintbrushes. The ones that you use to paint walls, those tend to do the trick. Okay, I'm coming back with white acrylic paint to give a little bit of reflection onto the beak. Let me get a different paintbrush. And one of the coolest things about white acrylic paint is that if you don't want a bold, opaque white on your painting or drawing, you can always water it down and you'll have a more translucent layer. So that's really cool if you want to vary it and have it go from dark all the way to an opaque white. So that's one advantage over using those white gel pens. I know that those are really helpful whenever you do things like ink. However, with Prismacolors, you can't really use them in the first place just because Prismacolors are so waxy, and if you try to use a ballpoint pen on a waxy surface, you're gonna have a bad time. So white paint is the way to go. And for those of you who missed it at the beginning of the video, I use Americana white craft paint. This stuff is very cheap at Hobby Lobby or Michael's. This brand in particular, I think you can only get at Hobby Lobby, but it's about $1 on average, so I highly recommend this for anyone. Now I'm going to color in its feet. For the feet, I'm using, what kind of blue is this? I don't know what blue this is. And I'm using warm grays as well. I remember, this is peacock blue. The French name's available, but for some reason I didn't know that word, but then it occurred to me it was peacock. So typically, whenever I sharpen down my pencils, I always understand the French names except for this one, but once it gets past the French name, I don't know the name of the color, so I just have to show you guys the Prismacolor number at that point. Michelle, you can always buy most of these products on Amazon. I don't know if Amazon carries Americana white acrylic paint, but I do know that they'll have tons of different varieties of paint in similar bottles and price. So just search white craft paint. I think craft is a key word there because at Michael's and Hobby Lobby, these bottles of paints are usually in a section called craft paint, and some bottles actually say craft paint on them. You can buy regular acrylic paint, but sometimes that paint can be really expensive. For instance, I purchased a bottle of white acrylic paint at Hobby Lobby for $3.99, and while it was larger than this, it was probably only twice the size, but it's much more expensive. And whenever you do little details like this, there's no noticeable difference between the paint, except for the fact that these tend to be more watery, but that doesn't really affect your product in a case like this. However, if you're painting on canvas or something like that, you may prefer a thicker paint. Amanda, my favorite color is light aqua if it were to be represented by a Prismacolor colored pencil. I really like this color, but I barely get to use it, as you can tell by its length. Yeah, the longer my pencils are, it means I use them less and less, but I really like this color. It's really pretty. I buy a lot of clothes and bags and such with this color. I don't know exactly what it is about the color that makes me like it so much. I really like shades of blue and some shades of green, so this is a perfect intersection of the two. It's just really pleasant. So I know that it is a popular color, so shout out in the comments to anyone who also prefers this color. So Miko, that's an excellent color combination. In fact, I have the color coral on my bed sheets. It's a really cool pattern. I think there might be a picture somewhere on Instagram. I'm not sure. I like it a lot though, so that's why I believe that I have a picture of it on Instagram. But it's geometric patterns with the colors of gray, white, and coral. June, I've never painted a landscape before. I think it'd be fun to do, but it's just, I've never had the motivation to do landscapes because I always prefer to draw people or other living things. So I'd love to try it in the future, and if I do, I'll definitely put that on Instagram. Helen, next to animals, well, not next to animals, animals is actually second in terms of my favorite things to draw, because my favorite thing to draw is the human face and human body by far. It's just so relatable, the human face and everything, and it's somewhat challenging to draw, so there's that sense of reward after I complete a successful face, and I really love drawing it. If you were to see my sketchbook, 90% of the pages have human faces on them. So that's how you know it's my favorite thing to draw. And if you check out my Instagram, you can see some examples of my work there. And on Quirky Mama's videos tab, you can check out my previous drawings, and a lot of them are indeed human faces. Haley. I have somewhat of a gallery if you would like to see my other drawings, and that is my Instagram account. It's linked in the video's description if you'd like to see that. Judy, I use more pressure whenever I'm coloring things that are used as a base coat. So if I'm using a dark black or a lighter color, I do use a lot of pressure, because if you look up closely on any picture, you'll notice, let me see if I can zoom in, you'll notice that between where the color is, there's these small little gaps or pores in the paper, and by using a lot of pressure you can fill those in. However, I typically save that for blending, because once you apply different colors on top of each other and blend them in, it definitely blends and fills up those pores. But if you have an area that's just black, for instance, it's really difficult to do that and you have to use a lot of pressure. Another thing that you can do if you have a large area to color, you can use a gum eraser. These I always hated as a child because they would smear my pictures. I always use them with graphite, so I put them away and I never use them. But a year or 6 months to a year ago, I don't know exactly when, my friend in art class showed me a trick that you can use with Prismacolors. And if you color in a large area and say you lightly etch it and you don't put down a lot of pressure, this, by blending over it with this, you can fill in those little pores and gaps. So it's a pretty cool blending tool. So I'm finished with this Toucan now. It's been a while since I made a video where I was able to complete the entirety of it in one night, because a lot of my previous drawings were high in detail, especially the sugar skull I did for the last 3 nights. I'm really happy with how that turned out, and if you want to buy that piece, it's on my Etsy store, which I linked in the video's description. You can go check that out. Let's sign this. So since it's 10:28, almost 10:30, it's time for me to get going. As I stated a couple times in this video, I now have an Etsy store. I just want to make sure you guys all know that in case you missed it. I linked it in the video's description, so you can go check out my works there. I only have 3 listed on there, but I'll keep adding more. And it's a perfect gift for the holidays. So if you go on there and you see an animal or a picture that you think someone you know would like, then I highly recommend that you get it, because all the pieces that you buy, I greatly appreciate you doing that, because I'm currently saving up for a trip over spring break with my school district to go to France and Italy. So anytime you purchase a drawing, the money will help go towards that. So thank you and good night.